Hi, my name's Hubwood and today we are going to take a closer look at the brand new Powerhouse by Lenovo, the Legion 5 Pro with the RTX 3070 and a Ryzen 7 5800H. A really good laptop for both content creators and gamers alike. Now let's talk about that. Alright, so up front I want to thank Lenovo for sending me that test unit to review it, and let me make clear that I'm not getting paid for this review and that my conclusion is totally unbiased. Now that being out of the way, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more unbiased laptop reviews in the future. So this update of the Legion 5 Pro comes with high-end hardware consisting of the following parts: a Ryzen 7 5700H 8-core 16-thread CPU, a RTX 3070 140W version with 8GB of VRAM, 32GB of DDR4 3200 MHz in dual channel mode, a very fast 1TB NVMe SSD, an absolutely stunning 16-inch WQXGA screen with a resolution of 2560 by 1600, 165Hz and G-Sync, Wi-Fi 6, an 80Wh battery, a quite heavy and big 300W PSU, and lots of USB 3 ports. Over here in Germany, this unit is going to cost $1,799, so my guess for the US price is around between $1,600 and $1,800. I know that's not exactly cheap, but in my opinion you'll get a great laptop with a good price-performance ratio that allows you to do basically anything you want. With its versatile screen, 32GB of RAM, a fast CPU, GPU and SSD, this fellow is clearly both great for gamers and content creators. You probably won't run into any performance issues for the next few years. So as always, I'll start with the chassis, which in this case is totally made of aluminum, and therefore it seems to be pretty sturdy and it feels very valuable. And I think it also results in a very good monitor stability. The laptop weighs a total of 2.5 kg, which is not exactly light for a 16-inch laptop, and it has a total height of 2.7 cm when closed. So this is not your super mobile light laptop for the go, but you can open it with one hand pretty easily, and they clearly put some budget into the hinge, some budget and time, because it just feels very perfect the way it opens. That's just great. The screen is an absolute highlight in this laptop, as it not only offers 100% of sRGB coverage, HDR400 and Dolby Vision, but also provides a brightness of 500 nits, which is way above what gaming laptops usually offer. And of course it comes with a 165Hz refresh rate, supported by both FreeSync and G-Sync. And thanks to the WQXGA resolution, everything looks super sharp, without being exaggerated as a 4K screen might have been at this point. It's just a perfect resolution for the RTX 3070, but we'll come to that later. I also have to point out that the aspect ratio of the screen is 16:10 and not 16:9 as your usual laptop. Now for me, the most mediocre element of this laptop probably was the keyboard. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad and you can easily type with it. It's just that it feels more like the keyboard of a $700 laptop and not of a laptop of this price point. The touchpad, on the other hand, is quite big and comfortable, and it seemed very precise. Clicking felt nice, so no complaints here. Connection-wise, the Legion 5 Pro delivers way more than your average laptop. It comes with 4 USB 3.2A ports, one of them on the right side and 3 at the back, as well as 2 USB-C 3.2 ports, which both support DisplayPort 1.4, so you can attach not one but 2 monitors to this machine. I especially love that most of the connections are at the back of the laptop, so no cables will be in your way when using a mouse. Of course, we also have a LAN port at the back, and on the left side we also have a 3.5mm audio jack. So for my personal taste, this is probably the perfect way on how to place connections on a laptop, because I prefer to have free space for the mouse on the right side, and I love to have the cables being at the back. So that's a clear 10 out of 10 for me in that matter. A tiny disappointment though is the lack of any card reader, which actually might be of use for content creators. Now the thermal solution of this laptop is top-notch and it prevents the CPU from throttling at all, at least in the tests I made at a room temperature of 21 degrees Celsius. And all tests were made with a laptop stand to ensure that the laptop is going to get fresh air from beneath it, which resulted in a lower temperature of around 6 degrees for CPU and GPU, and the fans spinning at about one level less loud. But under full load, the laptop isn't actually as loud as you would expect from such a big and powerful laptop with a total wattage of around 170 to 190 watt when gaming. This is probably due to the heavy weight, the full metal body, and the obviously good cooling system inside. For example, in Horizon Zero Dawn, I was getting 76 degrees for the GPU and around 85 degrees for the CPU, with the fans running at a surprisingly acceptable loudness. Now, placing the laptop directly at the table didn't throttle the CPU or the GPU, it just made the fan spin one level faster, so the laptop definitely can handle the heat it produces. The keyboard is going to get pretty warm in the midsection and above the keyboard though. But the keys in areas that you usually touch, including the WASD keys, they are actually pretty acceptable in terms of heat for my taste. I also tried to quickly undervolt the GPU, resulting in a performance loss of about 5%, but the GPU only using 100 watt instead of 140, resulting in lower fan speed once again. You could of course spend some more time to perfectly perform an undervolt and therefore lose no performance at all while still reducing the TDP, which is actually something that I highly recommend anytime, whenever possible.
Playing Far Cry 5 on battery without limiting the FPS resulted in a runtime of around 55 minutes. The battery time when watching YouTube videos at 50% brightness with Wi-Fi and using the energy saving mode was around 3 hours and 15 minutes. On idle and 20% brightness, reducing the resolution to Full HD and the refresh rate of the monitor to 60, it was around 6 hours and 35 minutes. By activating the hybrid mode, I was able to drastically enlarge the battery time, though this means that in games the performance could drop even when plugged in because the integrated graphics is being used more often. You'll just have to make yourself aware that this laptop is not intended for super mobility, but I'm not 100% sure if this is also a software problem that could be fixed in the future, as it just seems a little too short to me due to it being a 80 watt-hour battery. And notebookcheck.com stated that the performance loss when gaming on battery isn't that high, which I can't confirm at all. For me, performance dropped by around 75 to 80% when gaming on battery, so you'd clearly have to lower the settings and the resolution in more recent games to achieve playable FPS. But then again, frame times were bad and a lot of stuttering was happening. I made a lot of efforts to improve the performance on battery mode but couldn't find any solutions. The RTX 3070 is limited to 40 watt but seems to underperform a lot for that scenario, as usually the efficiency should rise a lot when reducing the power usage. In comparison with the tiny Asus ROG Flow X13, which is only using a 35 watt version of the 3050 Ti, a much slower card, the slower card actually clearly outperforms the Lenovo with its RTX 3070 when both laptops are unplugged. So I'm hoping that Lenovo might address this issue and provide solutions in the future.
By the way, the fast charging option recharged the laptop by around 63% in 30 minutes. The downward faced speakers can get very loud and they provide a clear sound, which in my opinion is a bit above average for your usual gaming laptop.
By the way, this is what the integrated camera looks like and the integrated microphone sounds like.
In Cinebench R15, the Ryzen 7 5800H achieved an exceptional score of 2150 in any number of runs, which actually makes it one of the fastest available Ryzen 7 5100Hs. The same goes for Cinebench R23, where it achieves a score of around 12,800. In PC Mark X, the laptop is getting a good overall score of 6,850. The M.2 SSD inside of this Legion 5 Pro achieved a reading speed of around 2.9 GB per second and a writing speed of around 2.6 GB per second in the sequential test. Thanks to the high resolution on a 16-inch screen, games look super sharp and it reminds me a lot of the pixel density on my 27-inch 4K monitor. Games look really stunning thanks to this screen, but of course the GPU has to do quite a bit more of work than on a 1080p screen. But combined with the 165Hz and G-Sync, the screen actually has everything that you really need. I will post a dedicated video with extended gaming tests for this laptop, which you can find over here or in the description. But now let's have a quick look at what the Legion 5 Pro can do in some newer AAA titles.
All games were tested at the native WQXGA resolution, which is 2560 by 1600 if not stated otherwise. And I recorded these videos via shadowplay, meaning recording reduced the FPS a bit, but the benchmark runs for the FPS numbers were of course made while I wasn't recording, so keep that in mind. With WQXGA and Ultra settings, I was able to play Horizon Zero Dawn on Ultra settings with an average of 64 FPS and a 1% low of 45 FPS, delivering a perfect experience with an exceptional image quality. I guess the sharpness and the colors just benefit from the Legion 5 Pro's great screen. On 1080p I was already getting 84 FPS on average with a 1% low of 57 FPS. So in that case, you're already starting to make use of the faster hertz and the G-Sync feature. For Microsoft Flight Simulator, I was using high settings on WQXGA, resulting in an average of 63.5 FPS on average with a good 1% low of 50 FPS when flying over New York City. The experience was very smooth and enjoyable. For Warzone, I was getting an average of 121 FPS with activated DLSS on balanced mode and some mixed settings. The 1% low was pretty high with around 86 FPS, so there weren't really any FPS drops worth mentioning. The 32GB of RAM with 3200 MHz certainly are helping, as you can't have enough RAM for Warzone. In Red Dead Redemption 2 I was getting an average of 72 FPS on a high to ultra settings mix with DLSS in balanced mode, which works really well for Red Dead Redemption 2. The resolution once again was WQXGA and the 1% low was absolutely fine with 54 FPS. I was also testing Valheim on the maximum possible settings, resulting in an average of 65 FPS and a 1% low of 40 FPS. The game certainly needs some optimization, but I still like the atmosphere and enjoy the graphics, even though it has a very controversial graphics style.
Now this Legion 5 Pro made quite a good impression on me if you haven't noticed that yet. And again, I'm pointing out that this video isn't paid for or sponsored. But of course you're not paying a small amount of money for a laptop like this, so we should expect good stuff, right? I can definitely say that it's a great laptop for core gamers and professional content creators like 3D artists as well, and the 32GB of RAM will last a while and ensure enough headroom for video and picture editing and probably every new AAA title in the next few years. And in times where desktop GPUs are way too expensive, this laptop could actually be considered a reasonable alternative, considering that it also comes with a great screen with great brightness and color accuracy. If you're looking for a small but strong and super mobile laptop, this one is probably not for you due to the disappointing battery run times. So that's all for today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more unbiased laptop reviews and GPU comparison videos. Thanks for watching, see you next time, stay healthy, bye bye and tschüss.